This is a huge moment for BMW because what you're looking at here is the new BMW X3. It's here to take back its crown as the most popular model for BMW Australia after the X1 came along and took it over. The car we have here today is the X3 M50, which will be the top of the range aside from the X3M. BMW is also bringing an X320 as a base model to Australia, even though it expects that if it was to bring the X330, a mid-spec grade, it would be the most popular. The X330 should show up later when BMW Australia can reliably source enough units to avoid long waitlists. For the drivetrains for both models that are coming to Australia, BMW is using mild hybrid technology. This car we have here, the M50, has a pretty traditional BMW engine. It's a 3-litre 6-cylinder turbo-petrol engine with about 293 kilowatts and 580 Nm of torque. The Australian specifics for those engines won't be available just yet, so that power figure might change. The base model coming to Australia, the 20 xDrive, comes with a 4-cylinder inline petrol engine coming in at 2 litres. It has about 153 kilowatts and 330 Nm, although again, that may change once that engine lands in Australia. If you were expecting the new X3 to be a little bit of an evolution rather than an evolution of the X3's design language, you were probably going to be a bit surprised by how different this looks. It's still clearly an X3, but it looks a little bit bigger thanks to the fact that there's a lot more clean space on the car, there's a lot less busy design elements, and a lot of the things like its light fixtures are actually a little bit more noticeable, and especially this iconic glow grille, and I'm told this is the first time that the kidneys have actually had a paint body coloured split between them for BMW ever. Along with the grille, the headlights themselves now have a slightly different signature. These two lines that follow each other are a little bit of an evolution of what used to be two separate circles, that kind of, dual round headlight BMW thing that's taken itself into the modern era a little bit. One of the other things about this car, being the M50, is that it looks a little bit sportier. It's got a lot more black trim around, which contrasts quite nicely with this color, which is actually not white. I don't know if the lights are making it look a little bit like it's white, but it's actually a sand color called Dune, just like the movie. This being the top spec in the range, aside from what will eventually be the M Performance versions, the M50 has these quite large 21-inch wheels, and the only thing optional about them is the fact that they're black instead of any other color. Behind that, there's also the blue brake calipers, which are an option, but normally they would be red as well. Another thing that's noticeable from the side of the car is these gloss black mirrors. They're a little bit of a standard thing for M Sport and M Performance packs, but what you might not be able to see from here is that the roof looks like it's gloss black, but it's actually a glass roof that goes all the way from the front corners where the windscreen meets the side of the car all the way back, and even though it doesn't open from inside of the car, you definitely get a sense of light and openness that you can't really see from out here, but we'll have a look once we're in there. Pretty traditional door handles that open that way are flush with the car at all times, which is quite nice. Everything on this car's, again, fairly clean, even all the way back down to the back of the car. This line is similar to this one that's followed it all the way along, and all of it sort of just sweeps back and meets the back of the car here nicely. New light signatures on the taillights are pretty visible from the side here, and then the rest of the back is also a little bit different. The plate, for example, is a little bit lower down here. It's no longer up in the middle, which gives a bit more of a, monolithic is probably a word you'll hear a lot when describing this car. And then in here, there's 570 litres of boot space, which is 20 litres more than before. Under here, you'll have all of your tyre repair kits. There's some netting, the usual cover over here as well. It's still a family car, so it's good that it's got all of those family things in here as well. There's 100 litres more space than the previous version as well, once all the seats are down too. If you thought the exterior of the X3 was a big step forward in terms of design, the interior is even bigger. It doesn't look a lot like the previous generation in here at all, actually. In fact, if you've driven cars like the BMW iX or even higher class cars like the 7 Series, if you've spent time in some of BMW's electric cars even, some of this might look a little bit more familiar to you than previous X3s. For a start, some of the elements in here have been taken from other cars in kind of an interesting meld together of new BMW design ideas way. One of the things that I first noticed when I got in here was that this screen is about the same size as a 5 Series screen, and it's on curved glass. It's got a driver display and this central display here, which both kind of feel a little bit integrated. Down here below that is what BMW calls the jewelry box. It's actually got the phone charger, USB ports, and also some cup holders in here as well. It's got a big M logo in the middle of it too, and then behind that, pretty much any BMW owner will find this familiar. It's the round controls and all of the little buttons for the media, so you don't have to do everything through the screen. There's still some physical controls for you here as well. This is also the first time BMW has put a flat bottom steering wheel in an SUV. So here in the X3, in the M50, it looks fairly sporty. There's the little marker at the top for 12 o'clock as well. Plus you've got some paddles here for shifting gears through the 8-speed gearbox. The material that is along the dash will be the same as up here on the top of the doors side cards, and makes it all the way back through to the rear seats as well. So it's this nice little connected motif that makes its way around the car. It's a little bit like the sort of wraparound materials that the XM, high performance big SUV had as well. I did just very quickly want to show you what's in the back here as well, because the rear seats are actually a three-way split. It's kind of cool. You get this seat, then this middle part here separately if you need to load long things through the middle of the car, and then the other seat is also separate. There's a standard cup holder armrest in here, plus down here for the rear passengers there's this little control touchscreen for the heated seats, which the back gets, plus the vents and all of the climate controls here for the back have their own controls as well. There's also a little device holder here for iPads for kids while you're traveling. That's been crash tested as well, so the iPad's not going to fling off just in case anything awful happens. Plus there's a couple of USB-C ports down there. These nice vents here, 2 separate ones for each of the back passengers. And again, on the door card, there's some of that follow-through material from the front, which has this nice little meet up with the leather from the back seats here. It's pretty cool. Oh, and also while I'm here, I did say I would mention, while we're inside the car, have a look up. That's the glass roof. It doesn't open, but it is huge. And if you're sitting here in the back seat, you get plenty of light so you don't feel cramped sitting in here on a long trip. It's pretty good. Cool, so now the important bit. This X3 will arrive in Australia for customers probably about the start of next year, 2025. And the other thing to note is that this model and the base model, the 20, will be the only two available in Australia at launch. BMW says that in the current X3 range, the 30i, the middle of the road, is actually the most popular one, and that will eventually come as the 30 for this later on. But for now, it's either a highly spec'd base model, which BMW says should fill a lot of the need that the middle of the range will find, or this, the high performance, high spec version, just before the M's arrive as well. You can expect more Australian specific pricing and specifications to arrive soon, so keep an eye on carsguide.com.au for when that rolls in.